One of the core tasks of a sysadmin is implementing password policies. This is very, very important in order to secure the system. In this demo, I shall implement enterprise password policies using PAM. Of course, PAM is pluggable authentication models. So here are some of the policies I'm going to implement. First, minimum password length and complexity, password expiration, enforce password history, account lockout, and finally, disable direct root login. Before I start, I need to, of course, I'm already in my terminal. So I need to first ensure that I have PAM installed in my server. Some distribution come with PAM already pre-installed. In some others, you may need to install them yourself. So for the purpose of learning, I'll first find out if PAM is installed, and if it is not, and then I'll have to install it myself. So let's get started. So enter the command. So as you can see, libpam pw policy is not installed and no information is available. So what it means is that PAM is not installed in my Linux. So I'll have to do the installation myself. I'll enter the command. Okay. PAM is installing. Good. I've successfully installed PAM. So I can get on with the first business now, which is to implement a minimum password length and complexity. In this case, I will have to fix the length of the minimum length of my password, which should be 12, and then it should contain at least one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, one digit, and then one special character. So let me enter my command. Sudo nano good. So I am on the nano editor. So I can now fix my password length and complexity. You can see min len here. Min len is the minimum length. Currently, it is 8. So I will change it to 12. I will change the minimum length to 12. Then you can see the credits. This stands for the minimum number of digits. Currently, it is 0. So I'll change it to -1, -1, so that to enforce at least one digit. Then the next is U credit, which is uppercase. It is still currently 0, so I will change it to -1 to ensure that there is at least one uppercase letter. Then L credit, which is the lowercase. Currently 0, so I'll still change it to -1. So we need to, my password would need to have at least one lower case. And finally, O credits, which is for special character. So I do the implementation as well. Okay. So I think I'm done with that. I'm done with the policies I want to implement. So the next thing is to save. Ctrl 0, save, and then I will exit. Okay. So I have set the minimum password length and complexity. But I think it's good. I also test it to be sure. So to do that, I will create a user and then test the password policy. So let me start with creating a user. Let's call our user Jen. So our user is Jen. Okay. So let's set a password for Jen. I'll be prompted to enter password. Now, I will deliberately enter a password that's that wouldn't have a digit or uppercase or even special character, and watch how the system will reject it. Bad password. You can see that the password contains less than one digit. Okay, so it's already confirmed that it already confirms that it does not contain a digit, though it is up to 12 characters. So if I add a digit now without a special character or without what is it, or without an uppercase letter, it will still reject it. So, but for now, I think let me enter a correct password so I can move on. Okay. So let me enter a correct password. Yes, so you can see password updated successfully. Okay, so what it means here is that whatever password I'm going to use in this system must be up to must have a minimum of 12 characters, and those characters must contain at least one uppercase letter, one uppercase character, one lowercase, one digit, and one special character. So I can now move on to the next policy, which is password expiration. Sometimes it's necessary to fix a time frame for a password within which it will last and then will have to be changed. You know, password do expire sometimes, and in fact, it's a necessary security measure. So the first thing I will do is to check the password policy of this of the user Jen. So I enter the command. Okay, so here is the password policy. You can see the last password change, February 20th, which is today's date. Password expires never. So the password doesn't expire. Password inactive never. And then account expires never. So you go down, you see the minimum number of days between password change. That is the number of days a password must last before you can change it. You can see it is 0. And then the maximum number of days between password change is a very large number. And then number of days of warning before password expires. Of course, before a password expires, you may need to warn the user so he or she can prepare to change it. So now we're going to implement a password expiration, and then the number of days the password will last before it is changed, and the minimum number of days a password once created must last, and finally the number of days of warning before password expires. So I'll enter my command. So this is the number of days the password, the maximum number of days between password change. I'll fix it at 90. So the password will have to last a maximum of 90 days before it expires. Then the next is number of days between password change. I'll fix that at still 1. And then the warning days. Number of days of warning before password expires. I'll fix that at, let's say 5. Okay. And of course, I'm setting that up for Jen. Okay. So I've implemented that. Let's confirm it. Good. So as you can see, the password expired is now null, is not never again. It can expire. And look at the date of the expiration here, which is 90 days from now. Then you can see the maximum number of days between password change, 1. The maximum number of days between password change, which is 90. And the number of days of warning before password expires, 5. Okay. So we've successfully implemented this policy. The next is to enforce password history. Now, what this does is to prevent one from using the same password over and over. So I'm going to implement a policy that ensures that a user does not use or reuse the last past passwords. This can also be very, very important for security purposes. So I'll go back to nano. So let me enter the command. Okay, so we can now go to edit and implement a password history. So here, I will enter remember equal to 5. What this means is to remember the last 5 passwords. Okay, I'll fix that. Of course, after you make any changes, you remember to save it. Let me exit. Okay, so I fixed that. What this ensures is that a password, the last 5 passwords cannot be reused by a user. Okay, the next policy is the account lockout. This is very, very necessary to avoid for brute force protection. So what it means is that you give a maximum number of time a user will try to log in before he or she is logged out. So if a person enters 5 login details, he or she is logged out, and that will last for a certain number of time before he can be able to try again. So let me go over and implement that. Okay. So in this case, I'll copy the edit I want to make here. So I'll copy this. Okay. So I've succeeded in pasting that. Now, if you look closely, of course, you have to uh, set the account lockout with PAM underscore file lock. You see deny is equal to 5. What it means is that after 5 trials, the user is locked out. Then lockout time is 900 minutes, 900 seconds, which is equal to 15 minutes. So after being locked out, the user is able to try again after 15 minutes. So I will save my edition and then exit. Okay. And finally, I'm going to disable direct root login, so that every other admin will have to log in like other users and then make use of sudo. So let me enter the command. Okay, so I am in nano. Now I'm going to change permit root login to no. With that, the root user root user login will be disabled. Okay, so there it is. Permit root login. I will change that to no. Change it to no. And then let me save the change. And then exit. And of course, I'll have to restart secure shell. I'll have to start secure shell. Sudo systemctl start ssh. Good. Okay, so in this exercise, I've succeeded in implementing some enterprise password policies. Very, very key to securing the system. I've implemented minimum password length and complexity, password expiration, enforced password history, account lockout, root direct root login. Okay, so that will be all for now. Thank you and see you again.